Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials. Welcome to the November 24, 2025 regular city council meeting. We're meeting at 26 South Paint Street, Chiillicothe, Ohio, and I would ask the clerk to call the roll.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Bennett. Payne.
Here.
McCourt.
Here.
Barnes.
Here.
McKeever.
Here.
Dement.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Dunn.
Here.
Creed.
Here.
Councilmember Bennett informed me that she would not be in attendance this evening. Is there a motion to excuse her from tonight's meeting? Motion by Ms. Payne, second by Mr. McQuirt, and the clerk will call the roll.
Payne.
Yes.
McCourt.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
Ms. Bennett is excused from this meeting, and I would ask Mr. Dement to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. The minutes from the previous regular meeting have been distributed. Are there any additions, deletions, or corrections? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes? Motion by, you threw me, Ms. Dunn. And a second by Mr. Dement. And the clerk will call the roll.
Payne.
Yes.
McCourt.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
McKeever.
Yes.
Dement.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Dunn.
Kathy Dunn.
Creed.
Yes.
Except for a motion to adjourn, I usually get a hand on every one of those. That's what threw me. Next, we'll move to the reports of committees. Development Committee, Mr. Dement.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Development has two items on tonight's agenda. Item number 3 is a first reading of an ordinance amending section 353.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, Ohio, regarding metered and unmetered parking zones, municipal parking lots, enforcement hours, installation of meters, and allocation of parking spaces for law enforcement with implementation contingent upon budget availability. Then the second item, item number 6, is the first reading of an ordinance establishing designated 10-minute parking spaces in downtown Chiillicothe, authorizing signage and enforcement, and providing for periodic review and adjustment. And at the appropriate time, I'm going to make a motion to amend this legislation to change its structure from physical locations of 10-minute parking spaces to a max number of 10-minute parking spaces. This amendment will establish 14 of those spaces and will require future council action only if the administration and downtown stakeholders determine that additional spaces are necessary beyond the 14 established in this amendment. Further, the amendment allows the administration flexibility to handle 10-minute space requests, including moving, subtracting, and adding spaces up to the max established in this legislation. And that concludes my report. Thank you.
I would request that we get that amendment to the clerk in writing so that whenever you get a chance, it doesn't have to be right now, and you can do it orally, but I'd like for her to get that so that she's not trying to write it down here and make sure that we're hitting it correctly, if that's okay. Thanks. Engineering Committee, Ms. Dunn.
I have nothing to report tonight.
Finance and Technology Committee, Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I have nothing on the agenda and nothing to report for the first time in 2 years. Thank you.
Human Resources Committee, Ms. Payne.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. I do not have any new information to report on this evening. However, I would like to take a moment to announce a committee meeting for Human Resources on assignment 25-086, December 1st at 4 o'clock, and that's to establish a salary range for the city arborist. position. Thank you.
Thank you. Parks and Rec Committee, Mr. Barnes.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. We have nothing on the agenda and nothing new to report. Thanks.
Thank you. Safety Service Committee, Ms. Preston.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Safety Services does have 4 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is number 1, second reading. An ordinance appropriating $59,726.76 for the installation of speed humps and signage at various locations throughout the city of Chiillicothe. This number 2 is a first reading of an ordinance appropriating $57,000 for the purchase of a new vehicle to be used by the municipal court probation department and declaring an emergency. At the request of the judge is the reason for the declaring of an emergency, as this comes out of their budget. Number 4 is a first reading of a resolution authorizing the Chiillicothe Fire Department to apply for Safe Haven Baby Box at Chiillicothe Fire Station number 1, affirming the city's support for the project, providing that all acquisition and installation costs shall be funded through private donations from community organizations and individuals. And item number 5 is a first reading of an ordinance authorizing the Chiillicothe Municipal Court to accept and appropriate Victims of Crime Act, VOCA, and State Victim Assistance Act grant funds for the 26 grant cycle, confirming city matching funds and additional program funding and declaring an emergency. This is something that we approve every year, and the judge did ask for it to be emergency language and to waive the 3 read on this, as well as item number 2, which I will request at the time of that. And we did have a committee meeting this evening to discuss update of fees and ordinances related to fire safety inspections. The fees were sent out via email per the request came from the mayor. They predominantly are going up $50 in each area. Initial inspection for routine inspections right now is currently 0, and first re-inspection would propose to be $50 and then up $50 from there. No change in the life safety inspections, the required system inspections. They're asking for a $50 initial inspection, and a subsequent inspection would be add $50 from the previous. Food truck inspections, an annual inspection is 0 right now, and it would the proposed inspection rate is $50. So this was approved by the Safety Service Committee, and we'll move forward to legislation. And thank you. That's all I have this evening.
Thank you. Utilities Committee, Mr. McKeever.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. Utilities has nothing on the agenda and nothing to report at this time.
Thank you. City Services Committee, Mr. McQuirk.
City Services has nothing on the agenda and nothing to report. Thank you.
Thank you. And Ms. Bennett is not here with the Community Affairs Committee, so we will move on to a report of city officials. Mayor Feeney let me know that he could not be here this evening, so we'll go to Auditor Spetnagel.
I do not have anything on the agenda or nothing to report other than we are still working on the budget. It's moving right along. So as soon as we get everything tied out, we will call for a overall budget meeting. And if you have any questions until then, just let me know. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll have the Law Director, Ms. Villarreal.
Thank you. Our office has been very busy. We've recently developed a policy in response to recent threats against public officials. We're currently in the implementation phase of that. We're in the process of conducting training for law enforcement agencies and also securing expert testimony relating to the new ProLace speed radar device. And we're also celebrating Assistant Law Director Jason Miller's transition to Judge Miller and introducing Jessica McDonald as the new Assistant Law Director. She will be coming with me, and I will introduce her soon. Thank you.
Thank you. And with that, I would just mention that there will be a requirement for all of the elected officials to take the training for, the Open Meetings Act and the Sunshine Law. So I will just remind everybody of that that'll be coming up, and that will be through the Attorney General's office. So I would just ask everybody to keep that in mind and look at the website. You get the information. Now we'll move to audience participation. Any person wishing to address the council must first provide his or her name and address. Comments shall be limited to 5 minutes, and I will give you a warning when there is 1 minute remaining.
Hello, my name is David White, and I currently reside at 179 Church Street. I would like to provide comments regarding pedestrian and bicycle safety here in the city of Chiillicothe. Initially, I want to express my thanks and support for the decision to close the right turning lane from westbound Water Street to northbound Yaktangji Parkway. Hopefully, this temporary closure will be made permanent. Drivers looking left for oncoming northbound traffic had consistently disregarded the potential for pedestrians to be in the crosswalk between the triangular island bounded by the intersection of Water Street and Yaktangji Parkway and the curved sidewalk along Yaktangji Park. And even when in clearly sight, many drivers chose to disregard the right-of-way pedestrians to cross there. Some did recognize the right of pedestrians to cross there, or just being courteous and allowing pedestrians to cross in front of them. But many times, drivers failed to stop or even slow down as they proceeded westbound on Water Street and turned north on Yaktangji Parkway. The situation was plainly a tragedy waiting to happen, and closing of that turn lane, forcing drivers to proceed to the light and turn right, was a low-cost solution, providing greatly enhanced safety to those crossing along the north side of Water Street. However, while this potential tragedy was mitigated, our community unfortunately has had to endure an actual tragedy this past Tuesday evening. While crossing Water Street at High Street, Ms. Connie Meyer and a companion were run down by a driver turning onto Water Street, and she unfortunately died from her injury. While I did not witness this accident or review any results of any police investigation into the matter, and am relying on secondhand accounts, this senseless tragedy appears to have been part of a general disregard for pedestrian safety in the city of Chiillicothe. In addition to the reckless behavior of drivers using the turn lane at the intersection of Water Street and Yaktangji Parkway, drivers in the city of Chiillicothe consistently disregard the safety of pedestrians, particularly when making turns while pedestrians cross legally in their path. Just recently, my wife, Donna Meyer, was crossing Water Street when a driver was turning at the intersection. Disregarding her presence in the crosswalk, the driver continued toward her until she had to slam on her brakes to avoid colliding with her. And then, infuriatingly, that driver rolled down her window to berate my wife for the temerity to illegally cross the street. To say that I wish she had gotten the license plate number of that vehicle is an understatement. And while I'm at a loss to what specifically can be done to prevent these potentially fatal incidents, I do feel the city of Chiillicothe has fostered a culture of deference to vehicle traffic over the protection of pedestrians and cyclists within the city. I would point to efforts to clear roadways after winter storms as evidence of such misplaced priorities. Roads are immediately cleared and public sidewalks are left uncleared of snow and ice, often until it melts on its own. Snow and ice is often piled onto sidewalks and at crosswalks at intersections. This was just the situation when several years ago my wife fell and severely broke her wrist walking on a sidewalk in Yaktangji Park. It was several days after a winter storm, and the roads in the city had been fully cleared, but sidewalks in the park remained covered in ice. I had suggested to her at the time that a lawsuit against the city could bring attention to this disparity, but she declined. And while I recognize that painting images of bicycles all along Water Street may bring some level of attention or awareness to the rights of cyclists to use the city streets, I will continue to ride on the sidewalks. I will, of course, defer to any pedestrians I pass, but I will not run the risk of asserting my right to ride in traffic just for the sake of being in the right. Being legally correct provides absolutely no protection from the risk of serious injury or death from a collision with any vehicle traveling on Water Street. And as the painting of images of bicycles on city streets may actually increase risks by suggesting to cyclists that it is safe to ride with traffic, newly painted crosswalks at the intersection of High Street and Chestnut Street may be creating more risks of severe injuries than protecting pedestrians. There's no traffic light or stop sign at that intersection for vehicles traveling on High Street, and to suggest that pedestrians can safely cross in front of traffic is a fiction. I would not recommend for anyone to try to assert that legal right at that intersection. Vehicles regularly stop across crosswalks or disregard pedestrians as they make right turns on red. They make turns while pedestrians cross in front of them. And as I said, do not have any easy answers to these problems. I do believe we owe it to the people of the city of Chiillicothe and the memory of Ms. Meyer to make every effort to prevent another senseless tragedy. As such, though a non-believer, I would like to offer a brief prayer on behalf of Ms. Meyer. May God rest her soul. Amen.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is AJ Tainer. I live at 81 North Paint, apartment 2B. I wanted to mention that with the incoming inclement weather and knowing that we're about to get a lot of snow I really wish we weren't. When it comes to clearing the roads and the sidewalks, we need a better solution than to dump all of that excess snow into the handicap parking spaces. I have a lot of friends who essentially become locked into their houses all winter because the snow gets left in handicap parking and it blocks the curb cuts that lets them come to downtown and come to anywhere in Chiillicothe. The spots get blocked, the sidewalks get blocked. Any mobility devices, which already struggle on our sidewalks, become near impossible to use. I just want to make sure that that it is at everyone's attention now that we need a better solution that is inclusive to everybody in the city, not just people who are able to slip and slide, who are able to manage the slip and slide across the sidewalks. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm sure by now about everybody knows my name. My name is Jason Sally, live 194 Marvin Drive. I'll try to be brief. Last time I was here, talked about Wherever. Well, Wherever hasn't really been in the headlines lately, and it seems like everybody's forgotten about some of the issues in town. But I haven't. Wherever is still a toxic threat. I'm sure nobody has heard from the glove company if Collector Well 17 and 18 is still running or not. Because I reached out to them and they never responded to me. So I would ask council if you've done the same. Are these pumps still running?
Mr. Sally, I heard from a meeting I went to today that they are still running the pumps.
They're
Yes.
still running?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, with that being said, that's some good news because that's a serious issue. Wherever still a threat. I don't know if anybody's looked at the new data that came out this month to see the highest spike in TCE ever recorded in 30 years happened this year at Wherever in an off-site monitoring well. You'll also notice if you look at the current data, you'll see vinyl chloride levels rising like never before because the TCE is breaking down and becoming something even more dangerous called vinyl chloride. Same stuff that happened in East Palestine that they vented, let off. So we got an ongoing toxic issue here. With vinyl chloride, it travels a lot easier in water. We have a park that's been in the eastern Chiillicothe for well over 30 years, surrounded by Wherever, the toxic plume, which is a stone's throw away, and nobody has ever tested that park. Nobody's ever asked questions to see if there's any cancer-causing material there. Same way with a lot of the locations in Chiillicothe. City dump, that's another one. DuPont 70s dumped 6,500 tons of chemicals there. We don't talk about that. So we have a legacy of contamination is what I'm getting at. And the city now is getting caught up with the litigation, the PFAS, the Forever Chemicals lawsuit. PFAS is a serious issue in Chiillicothe. Wherever, use Teflons, DuPont products. There's PFAS. The paper plant made coated paper. That coating has been shown to even have PFAS in various paper factories throughout the country. We have a lot of PFAS producers here, plus DuPont literally right up the road, the granddaddy of them all. But we're not doing anything about it. I've heard the push to work with these attorneys on the PFAS, but I've never heard anybody mention anything about Wherever, mention anything about testing Mary Lou Patton Park. I said last time when I was here that I figured the city council would probably ignore me, and for the most part, everybody did, except Mr. Dement, who I appreciate taking the time to communicate with. With that being said, I'm here to also offer a solution, not really a solution, but help for the city to understand the toxic issue outside of the Ohio EPA. I'm able to connect the city of Chiillicothe with a world-renowned biochemist who's willing to offer and consult with the city on these toxic sites free, pro bono. Look at the data, look at the testing data, and not just Wherever, but places like CSX Rail Yard that the city wants to redevelop the back parcel of. You have a scientist willing to offer services free and to consult with city council, even if it's in a committee meeting, to bring independent analysis and understanding to city council. Because we already know the Ohio EPA won't talk to the community. That was brought up when Wherever first hit the headlines again. And I'm sure not much has changed. But here's the city's opportunity to have a biochemist who has the experience to explain it, to break down the data, and answer questions that you may still have that the Ohio EPA may not have answered. And he's willing to do it pro bono. So I'm asking the City Council to be willing to meet with Dr. Michael Ketterer. He's a professor emeritus at Northern Arizona University. He's very integral in exposing and finding the radiation in Zons Corner Middle School in Pike County. He was the scientist that found it. So he's willing to offer his services to look at the data and give the city not just an honest, independent analysis of the wherever plume, but also on the PFAS situation in the community with all the toxic sites, from the city dump to wherever to the paper plant. This is an opportunity to get free consultation with no expense to the taxpayers, no expense to the city. I'd be happy to talk with each one of you more. I sent email out to a couple members of council about this, along with Dr. Ketterer's CV, so you can understand a little bit more of his background. But get some information outside the Ohio EPA, because I'll be flat out honest in my last few seconds, the Ohio EPA is the reason why we're still talking about wherever today. Because they told them they didn't have to clean it up, limited action, contain it, let the paper plant do the rest, and everything's sunshine and roses.
Thank you. If there is no more audience participation, we will now move to old business. Is there any old business to come before council? Hearing none, we'll move to petitions and correspondence.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. The only thing I've received is a comment that Ms. Preston said earlier with the with item number 2. The municipal court contacted me today to make sure that there was clarification that this is coming from the municipal court fund and not the general fund.
We'll now move to new business. Is there any new business? Mr. Creed.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. As Mr. White noted, Connie Meyer lost her life following a tragic accident last week. Connie served the 5th Ward on Chiillicothe City Council for 10 years in the 1990s when some of us were still in school and other of us were beginning our careers and raising children in this community that she loved. She and others like her served this community during her time on council and paved a road for others to follow over the years. After her service as a councilwoman, she continued to serve our community as a leader in various organizations. As Commissioner Glass said, her accomplishments were rooted in service, and she serves as an example to many. Please pray for her family and friends during this difficult time, and join us in a moment of silence, please. Thank you.
President Shoemaker.
Mr.
I'd like to address, make a motion to amend Ordinance 6525, which was just passed at the last meeting, to update the water rate codified ordinance of 91508, which again passed at the last council meeting on November 10th. The change or the amendment I'd like to add to it is there was some language that was redacted inadvertently or omitted from the original legislation, which pertains to Section 4 of the ordinance that was passed in 2000 and March 13th of 2000, which has been ordinance number 2300. Section 4 reads that water rates shall be increased at a rate of up to 2% each year on March 1st starting 2003, and every year thereafter, unless a special rate committee described in 91508 C decides it will be not necessary. The council shall then withhold up to the 2% increase for 1 year pending the review. That information and some other language was inadvertently omitted from language that was passed, or the legislation that was passed. I'd like to make an amendment on that after consulting with the law director's office and bring it back to the full council.
At this point in time, I would suggest that you go ahead and get the amendment to the law director's office at the next meeting. Then we'll move to amend and have the actual language in front of council, we can go ahead and do that at that point in time and move forward. But if you could get that to the law director's office, I think that would be the appropriate thing to do. But we probably should see the language before council goes ahead and votes on the amendment. But I don't see any issues or any problems that should arise there. So if you could do that, that would be perfect, and we'll get that straightened out.
I will. And thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Now we'll move to reading of ordinances and resolutions.
Thank you, President Shoemaker. This evening we have 6 items on our agenda. Item number 1 is the second reading of an ordinance appropriating $59,726.76 for the installation of speed humps and signage at various locations throughout the city of Chiillicothe.
Ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 2 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $57,000 for the purchase of a new vehicle to be used by the Municipal Court Probation Department and declaring an emergency.
President Shoemaker,
Ms. Preston,
I would like to make a motion at this time to waive the 3-read rule on this legislation.
second by Mr. Creed. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed,
Yes.
The 3-read rule is waived. The clerk will call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed,
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. Next ordinance.
Item number 3 is the first reading of an ordinance amending section 353.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, Ohio, regarding metered and unmetered parking zones, municipal parking lots, enforcement hours, installation of meters, and allocation of parking spaces for law enforcement, with implementation contingent upon budget availability.
The ordinance will move to the next agenda. Next resolution.
Item number 4 is the first reading of a resolution authorizing the Chiillicothe Fire Department to apply for a safe haven baby box at Chiillicothe Fire Station number 1, affirming the city's support for the project, providing that all acquisition and installation costs shall be funded through private donations from community organizations and individuals.
Resolution will move to the next agenda. Next ordinance.
Item number 5 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the Chiillicothe Municipal Court to accept and appropriate Victims of Crime Act, VOCA, and State Victim Assistance Act, SVAA, grant funds for the 2026 grant cycle, confirming city matching funds and additional program funding, and declaring an emergency.
President Shoemaker,
Ms. Preston,
I would like to make a motion at this time to waive the 3-read rule on this item, please.
second by Ms. Payne. The clerk will call the roll relative to the waiver of the 3-read rule.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed,
Yes.
The 3-read rule is waived, and the clerk will call the roll relative to the ordinance.
Payne,
Yes.
McCourt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed,
Yes.
Ordinance is adopted. The next ordinance.
and finally, item number 6 is the first reading of an ordinance establishing designated 10-minute parking spaces in downtown Chiillicothe, authorizing signage and enforcement, and providing for periodic review and adjustment.
President Shoemaker,
Mr. Dement,
at this time, I would like to make a motion to amend this legislation.
in accordance with what you had read earlier in your report, is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is there a second to that motion? Second, Mr. McQuirt. The clerk will call the roll relative to the amendment.
Payne,
Yes.
McQuirt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed,
Yes.
The ordinance is amended, and the ordinance will move to the next agenda. And unless there is any other business to come before council, I would accept a motion to adjourn. Motion by Mr. McQuirt, second by his hand kind of came up. Mr. Barnes, I guess. Mr. Barnes, the clerk will call the roll.
Payne,
Yes.
McQuirt,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
McKeever,
Yes.
Dement,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Dunn,
Yes.
Creed.
Yes.
We are adjourned. Thank you all.